Assalamu alaikum to all of you. I am Fazra Tariq from class 8 and I feel very pleasure that I am going to deliver a speech on UN, that is United Nations Organization. What is United Nations Organization? United Nations Organization is an intergovernmental organization tasked with maintaining international peace and security, developing friendly relations among nations, achieving international cooperation, and being a center for harmonizing the actions of nations. It was established for preventing future wars, and it succeeded the ineffective League of Nations. But what's the history behind the UNO? During the World War I, that was between 1914 and 1918. This war caused a great destruction and loss of property. The people of the world realized that there should be an organization which would maintain international peace and security. As a consequence of this realization, there was an organization which was formed, and this organization was called League of Nations, which was formed in 1920. But this organization completely failed to work because a Second World War broke out in 1939 and continued till 1945. This war was more destructive than the First World War. This war is considered as the expensive war ever fought because in this war, atom bomb was firstly used in the war. It's difficult to estimate the immense loss suffered by the people in this war. In this war, people were mercilessly killed, deformed, and disabled. The leaders of the world felt that if another world war takes place, then the entire world will wipe out. So it was during the Second World War that the President of America, Mr. Roosevelt, and the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Winston Churchill, signed an agreement for establishing an organization that would maintain international peace and security. On November 1943, the USA, erstwhile USSR, Great Britain and China met at Moscow and emphasized the need for an organization which would maintain international peace. And in October 1944, at Dumbarton Oaks near Washington, these four countries drew up a draft proposal to form such an organization. On April 1945, finally a conference of 50 nations was held. In this conference, the Charter of the UN was made. And in this, 50 nations included in the conference, but 51 nations, including India, ratified the Charter. And this came into effect on 24th October 1945. And since that day, this day is observed every year as United Nations Day. The United Nations has its headquarters at New York. Presently, it has 193 members. South Sweden became the 193rd member of the UN quite recently. Now I want to tell you about the Charter of the United Nations. The Charter of the United Nations is like its constitution. It states the aims and principles of the United Nations. And this charter was signed on 26 June 1945. Now let's discuss the aims of the United Nations Organization. Its aims are follows: to develop friendly relations between nations, to maintain international peace and security, to stop environmental destruction, to help people to live a better life, to encourage people for their dignity, rights and freedom, to eliminate poverty, disease and illiteracy in the world. Now I am going to tell an important thing about the United Nations Organization, that's its organs. The United Nations has 6 main organs. First one is the General Assembly. Second one is the Security Council. Third one is the Social and Economic Council. Fourth one is the Trusteeship Council. Fifth one is the International Court of Justice. And sixth one is the Secretariat. Now we will briefly discuss all these organs of the UN. First organ is the General Assembly. It consists of all members of the United Nations. That is 193 members. Each member state can set at least 5 representatives to the General Assembly. But there is a condition that at the time of voting, it's entitled to cast only one vote. The General Assembly is like a world parliament. It has a president which presides over the sessions of the General Assembly. The present president of the General Assembly is Maria Fernanda Espinosa Garces. The function of the General Assembly is that it approves and considers the UN budget, and its function is to elect the non-permanent members of the Security Council, Social and Economic Council, and members of the Trusteeship Council. Now I'd like to tell you about something, Security Council. The Security Council consists of 15 members. 5 members are permanent, which are USA, UK, France, Russia, and China. The other 10 members are non-permanent members and are elected by General Assembly for a term of 2 years. The Security Council is also called the powerhouse of the UN. The permanent 5 members also enjoy a special privilege, that is the veto power. The veto power is a special power due to the permanent members of the Security Council by which they can effect their decisions. Its function is to maintain international peace and security. Now, next is the Social and the Economic and the Social Council. It consists of 54 members. 18 members are elected by General Assembly for a term of 3 years. It aims at solving international, social, economic and health problems. It also aims at promoting universal respect and observance of human rights for all. Next one is the Trusteeship Council. The Trusteeship Council helps in the attainment of independence to those territories which are under the foreign rule. The Trusteeship Council fulfilled its mission on 1st November 1994. But however, on the UN Charter, its name exists because its future role and even existence is uncertain. Now, there is an important organ which is an International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice consists of 15 judges. These judges are elected by the General Assembly and Security Council for a term of 9 years. The International Court of Justice is headquartered in Geneva, Netherlands. The court decides disputes among its member nations. It also gives advice to the various parts of the UN. The next one is the UN's Secretariat. The Secretariat carries out day-to-day work of the United Nations. Its administrative head is called Secretary General. This Secretary General is elected by the General Assembly on the recommendations of the Security Council. The present Secretary General of the United Nations is Antonio Guterres. This great personality belongs to Portugal. The first Secretary General of the United Nations was Trygve. The work of the Secretariat is to administer the peacekeeping operations, mediating disputes, etc. There are some agencies which are linked to the United Nations, and those agencies we call as specialized agencies of the United Nations. The first agency we will talk about is UNESCO, that is United Nations International Scientific and Cultural Organization. This organization was set up in 1946 and it is headquartered in Paris. This organization promotes collaboration among nations through science, education and culture. The next one we will talk about is World Health Organization, that is WHO. It was set up in 1948 and it is headquartered in Geneva, Netherlands. WHO has described it health, not only the absence of diseases, but as a complete state of social, physical and mental well-being. Now we will talk about UNICEF, that is United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. It was set up in 1946 and is headquartered in New York. UNICEF provides help to the mothers and their newborn babies without the discrimination of the caste, creed, color. The UNICEF was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1965. The next organization that we will talk about is International Labour Organization. This organization is actually set up in 1919, but this organization became the specialized agency of the UN in 1946. The purpose of the International Labour Organization is to bring social justice and improve the condition of laborers. The next one is the Food and Agricultural Organization. The Food and Agricultural Organization was set up in 1945. The Food and Agricultural Organization helps to fight against malnutrition, poverty and hunger. Now last but not the least, I would like to tell you something about the World Bank. The World Bank was set up in 1946 and is headquartered in USA, Washington. The World Bank comprises of two institutions, IBRD and IDA. IBRD is International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and the second one is IDA, that is International Development Association. It provides loans and technical assistance to the developing countries, viz. Pakistan, India. The World Bank works in over hundreds of countries. There are some other agencies like IMF, International Monetary Fund, UPU, Universal Postal Union, IAEA, that is International Agency, and that is International Atomic Energy Agency. Hope you have enjoyed my speech. Thank you.
Solace International School, Pulwama, Kashmir.